Hi, this is John Carrington for Eye on Baltimore. So don't touch that dial. Eye on Baltimore has some good information for you. You're going to have a great time. Don't change that channel. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm John Carrington, and welcome to Eye on Baltimore. I have the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Hrabowski, who is the president of the University of Maryland, Baltimore County campus. 2 words, core curriculum.
Yes, I think it's an excellent idea. There are people who are questioning the value, but algebra in Texas should be algebra in Baltimore. And the core standards have been developed by experts. The key would be implementation and making sure that teachers have the support they need in order to carry out what we are expecting. Most important, outcomes. We want to know that students will be able to read well, to compute, and learn to think well. And those standards do address those issues.
All right, thinking is a skill.
Yes.
What can we as educators do to help people to pick up the skill of thinking, processing information, using it?
I'm a strong believer in reading. The more students read and write and talk about ideas and have the opportunity to have people to critique those writing pieces, the pieces of writing or what they say, the better students will think. And at the heart, though, of the matter, whether in math or science or in the humanities, reading and writing and thinking. And the thinking comes as a result of grappling with ideas, seeing how other people argue points, and having the chance to express oneself, one's opinions, and to have those opinions and that thinking evaluated by others.
Okay. Well, thinking implies creativity. Is technology helping our young people produce creative thought, or is it hindering?
It's a great question. I would say that technology is a tool, sometimes in the same way that an ink pen was considered a tool, or in the way that printing was considered a tool at one point. I think it can enhance thinking. I think that students need to know how to use technology, and technology will mean different things to different people. Whether we're talking about playing games,
All right.
when a lot of thinking may or may not be involved, or whether sometimes there is a lot of thinking involved in games, or we're talking about how you use technology to learn to write more critically, or we're using technology to find information. And so it's how the technology is used, and that's why teachers and parents are so important.
That's critical. Whether the tool is automobile used for good purposes or an automobile used as a weapon.
Sure.
It's not the tool that you blame.
That's right.
It's the individual.
Yeah. Oh, very much so. And in science, for example, technology is used to visualize many times and to see things in several dimensions. And it's amazing how much more we can learn and how we can grow as a result of visualization through technology. So it is helping us to solve problems. Let me say that. Very much so.
Your recent commencement address received national recognition because you gave a vision of what you felt our young people need. What advice do you have for parents to prepare young people to enter the college level, the university level of learning?
Sure. You know, I could be somewhat mercenary and say that they could read my 2 books on parenting and high achieving kids in math and science and beating the odds and overcoming the odds, written by 2 of my colleagues, 3 of my colleagues and myself years ago. And I do recommend those books to people, and all the proceeds go to the university. But there are lessons in those books about preparing students in science, and the lessons come from families and parents. I think we can learn a great deal from listening to the parents of students who have succeeded and those who have not succeeded. I think the parents need a chance to talk with each other about what has worked and what has not worked, because in any family you'll find some cases in which there will be one student who's done well and the next student did not do well, and the parents may have done exactly the same thing. The point is that parenting is neither an art nor science, and we need to have opportunities for families, for parents, to hear the experiences of others. And most important, we need more collaboration between teachers, educators, and those families and community groups in looking at what students need to succeed in college. And that's reading skills. I go back to it, thinking skills, the willingness to work hard, to take advice, discipline, to persistence, right? And probably most important, a sense of self.
Okay. All right, could you define the ideal classroom? And I'm speaking of elementary school level. I mean, because that's where youngsters either learn to love learning, or become the opponent of a learning process.
I think we naturally want to learn. Children are always me, there's excitement, and in any classroom there should be just that. Excitement, kids learning to work with each other. It's amazing how colors have a way of improving and strengthening creativity, for example. But most important, opportunities for students to have hands-on experiences, to be able to move around, to have learning that is active, very, very important. And teachers are at the center of that experience.
All right, well, on that note, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back with more of I Am Baltimore.
I wrote a note to Joy Martin saying she is what I call an amazing and wonderful quiet giant. Give her a hand. So many people think of her beloved wife for 40 years who smiles and dating she was when I married her. This Delta Institute, all my family members and friends and elected officials and Senator McFadden, but the educators, Senator Curry and the UMBC alumni, Andrew Jones, and all who support education in the state. This is all about education. Education transforms lives. Unveiling a statue of Dr. Freeman Hrabowski are his wife, Mrs. Jacqueline Coleman Hrabowski, his sister-in-law, Dr. Marilyn Coleman Borges, and his niece, Taylor Borges.
Welcome back, and I'm John Carrington, having a great time with Dr. Freeman Hrabowski of UMBC, yes sir, president. And of course, you were inducted into the National Great Blacks in Wax Museum. How was that experience? Talk about it.
Right. The only word I can think of is humbling, very humbling. The other people who were being honored posthumously from amazing people. And when you think about Mary McLeod Bethune as an educator, or Benjamin Quarles, or Benjamin Mays, these are people who are legendary. I am far from that. And so I said to the wonderful executive director, Jordan Martin, and her staff, I think they did disfigure me as a work in progress. The others have arrived. They've achieved all that. I'm working on it, and it's a way of encouraging me, is the best I can say. But most important, that experience allowed me to think about the power of education to transform lives. And that's got to be the message. It's never about one leader or one educator. It is about the ideas one is trying to express.
All right, well, Booker T. Washington had a philosophy that if a man could do something with his hands, do something that other people would support or buy, then no matter what his skin color, he could make his way in the world. And I would think Booker T. Washington took the simple notion that vocational schools were an approach. What is your philosophy of education?
Well, Booker T. Washington is a fellow Hamptonian, and I appreciate the idea that he talked about things with his hands. What people don't know is that he also supported the liberal arts at Fisk and Clark Atlanta University. We want to give him that credit too. But I really am inspired by people like Benjamin Mays and Mary McLeod Bethune, both of whom talked about the importance of vision and high aim. And I think that's what we want to do. We want to help every student to have a vision of him or herself as somebody who makes a difference in the world. And we want to teach them to dream about the possibilities. And finally, most important, we want to show them the significance of hard work and of stick-to-itiveness, of continuing to focus on the problem. It makes all the difference in the world.
Perseverance.
Yes.
Starting something and finishing
That's
it.
right.
When you look at the stats on who completes high school, the statistics on who goes on to the next level, whether or not various cultures encourage that and whether other cultures discourage that. What can we do to help our inner cities when it comes to education and the cultures that are competing with the educational process.
Right. I honestly think we need to be as focused on the values that have sustained so many of us over the years. There are large numbers of families of all races in inner cities and rural areas who are working hard to educate their children. We need to take some time to understand what they do every day, to be inspired by their messages. It's not enough to talk about that bottom third who may not be graduating, for example. We want to focus on that group, but sometimes we can learn a lot from those people who may not be with money, who may not have great jobs, but they work hard every day to help their children, and they are focused on ensuring that those kids finish high school, that they can read, that they can go to college. And we rarely hear about those millions of people, black people, white people, whatever the groups are, who are doing that. And so I always want to start with the strengths. Okay. And then I want to think about how we, as educational institutions and as communities, put our arms around the children who don't get the support they need.
Okay.
You know, UMBC works with hundreds of children who are first-time offenders, bringing those children to campus and literally working with them from the morning to night and the next day. And we need to do more of that. We need to see other people's children as our own and give those children what we work to give our own.
College degree, to be a success, is that the one route or the one that you would recommend?
I think we need to give every student post-secondary opportunities. Some people don't want to sit in a classroom all day long. They want hands-on experiences. They may want to be in green construction. They may want to do all kinds of things. It doesn't mean one day they may not decide to get a degree, a four-year degree. But there's some great programs at community colleges. There are great programs in four-year institutions. People think of auto mechanics and they think, well, that's not a college degree, but it's post-secondary work. And people who are auto mechanics have become computer experts.
Okay.
You see, and you still need to learn to read, to think well, right, to work hard. And so there are all kinds of opportunities that we need to be exposing our students to. And depending on the needs and strengths of each child, we can decide the journey. But we shouldn't try to put all into one cookie box and say they all have to do exactly the same thing.
All right. And of course, as education goes, so goes the world, so goes our nation.
Yes.
In America, we're not ranked in the high levels of academic competition worldwide. We have countries that are smaller and have smaller populations who have higher academic achievement than we have in math and science. What can we do to correct that?
It's important to say that we still are by far the most impressive in the world. We are challenged to keep that ranking. If you are over 35 in America and you're in the top tier, you're probably second in the world in level of college education. You'd be surprised how well people have done for years. Now, the group from 25 to 34 are not keeping up, and they're down to about position number 12. And so what we've got to do, and it's not that we are going backwards, it's that we are not going forward. We're not increasing the percentages. Other countries are doing much more to get many more people with the education. And that's in general in education, and then in math and science. There's no doubt we have fewer people, percentage-wise, who have gotten degrees in science and engineering, about 6%. In fact, compared to 11% in Europe. So we're going to be focusing on getting more students to have a broad education, we need more humanists, we need more artists, and more scientists.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with more of Eye on Baltimore.
It's about all the people, my grandmamas and granddaddies, my mom and dad, my church and my teachers, my politicians right now, who told me not to let anybody else define who I am. And I didn't have time to give them head up, to hold my head up high, and dream big. It's my dream. It's about my beloved Hampton. It's about my beloved Coppin State College. Let me tell you, after gave me 10 years, I've enjoyed being with those people. Two of my colleagues, Cynthia Neville-Boyd, who was taught by Booker Cross, and Betty Gardner, brilliant historians of Coppin. Give them a hand, because we need to talk about the strengths of our institution. The strengths of our institution. And then all of my colleagues at UMBC, from a Cynthia Hill to Valerie Thomas to Tyson E. Meadows to a young Derek Westbrook, all those students and faculty who make me who I am. shoulders of giants, standing on the stage, but of all of you. And the message to you today is it's not about us. It's about the transformative power of education to make a difference. You know, I want you to hear what Mary Brown said. You know, that boy who sang that song, and I call him because he's like my son. It's amazing. You talk about producing black people in STEM. There is a Derek Musgrove, a PhD in history. There is Michael, who is a brilliant mathematician. Told me God was calling him to religion, so he went off to Emory, got the grad degrees, but the law works it out. He's back teaching the 8th grade in Baltimore City in mathematics. God works it out somewhere. Michael, you need to know that Benjamin Mays also taught mathematics and debate at Morehouse College. Give it up for Benjamin Mays and mathematics.
Hi, I'm John Carrington, and I'm having fun here with Eye on Baltimore, talking to Dr. Freeman Hrabowski of UMBC. And sir, I want to focus on the future of education. Back when I was in school, we were talking about this future where trade schools would start taking chunks out of the curriculum that the colleges were teaching. And I said, never happened. Now we have trade schools. What do you see as the future of education, competition-wise, method of delivery-wise? What do you see?
I see more and more students looking at different options. Half of all students in America are now starting community colleges. People don't realize those are some fine institutions and can give an excellent education. I'll see more and more students having pathways. Some will get post-secondary training or education that may or may not lead to four-year degrees, and yet they can get good jobs. Others will go on the route and move ahead with the four-year degrees. I also see us looking at a hybrid approach to delivering instruction. More and more you'll see classes that will have some part in person, some part using technology. We'll be flipping the classrooms, meaning giving students more responsibility for learning themselves, not simply opening their heads and pouring in a lecture. You're going to see more use of technology, more group work at UMBC, a lot of emphasis on collaboration, problems that are hands-on, looking at the problems we face in society, whether it's about environmental policy or about cybersecurity. We'll see institutions of education, K through 12, and universities helping students prepare to solve the problems of the world.
What's going to happen with the cost of education?
You know, I keep hearing a lot about that issue, and we do need at institutions all types to keep costs down. University System of Maryland gets a lot of national visibility for effectiveness and efficiency. I think that places like UMBC and others are doing a good job with costs. We cost so much less than other institutions, and I think the key will be to give students ways of helping to pay for their education, such as internships. I think that students who, I know for a fact, students who get internships, paid internships for example, are much more likely to have a job when they graduate. And this is the most important point. People know that if you get that education, your life will be better. You'll be able to get better jobs. You'll be able to take care of your families. And most important, you get a chance to prepare your children for a better life. We have to elect people who understand that every child has the right to a good education. I think that as the American public, we need to look at how far we've come because so many more educated. People say, oh, we're worried about the future. Well, look at the past. Only 10% of Americans had a college education. We're up to 30% today, all right? And I believe that the American public will elect people more and more who understand we have to educate our children if we want a bright future for everyone. Now, the state of Maryland does better than almost any. Our governor and the elected officials get it. They understand that the future of this state is directly tied to the quality and level of education of children and young people. And so as a result, we are doing better than most in the country. And I think, and I know for a fact, many people come to look at what we're doing at UMBC and in this state as this legislature has said, we believe in K through 12 and in higher education, that those education institutions will determine the future of our state.
Is there an ideal balance between government control of education and college campus keeping control of
of course there is. We need to keep costs down, but we worked with the elected officials here since the early part of this decade to keep costs down. We cut out a lot of costs and took on more responsibility so we could educate more people. We had several years where tuition didn't go up at all. We worked with the governor and the legislature, and we were very sensitive to what families needed. I think we can also be entrepreneurial. And I mean, for example, UMBC has over 90 companies on campus. Biotech and IT companies started by our students and our faculty, and students work in those companies.
Okay.
So whether they're working in the intelligence community, this corridor has all kinds of work in biotechnology, in cultural institutions, and I think institutions and individuals who are entrepreneurial will find a way to make it work. I think the future is brighter than it's ever been, but I do know we have to insist that we have elected officials who make decisions that will help the people of this country, all the people of this country.
All right. Sometimes services are driven by public demand. We have folks who lose jobs, decide to change careers at midlife.
Yes.
What are you doing in adult education?
Right.
Especially looking towards the future when we're having more shifts in the economy.
Sure. We have a lot of people involved in our cyber academy. There's so many jobs in cybersecurity right now. People who don't have technology backgrounds who go to our UMBC training centers, for example, because they want a job and they want to learn some skills. There's no doubt the more expertise one has in technology, whether it's in communications or in areas involving business processes, the more opportunities the person will have. Whether it's about policies and the aging, you got all these agencies here, Social Security Administration, Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services, but you also have healthcare areas here, and there are many great jobs. We have to give students and people the skills they need to take those jobs. And believe me, again, the attitude of the person is so important. We say to our students all the time, if you keep that positive attitude and you show you're ready to work hard, people will want you on the team.
All right. And of course, here you are, right, near a major metropolitan area.
Yes.
Right 35 minutes away from Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah.
And New York City's up the road, connected by train. You're in the middle of a wonderful corridor.
I don't think there's any place in America that's more exciting right now than this corridor, than this state, because we've got the people and the elected officials on the same page saying, we must educate our children.
All right. What is the highlight of your experience so far?
It's seeing so many students getting a great education and having their dreams fulfilled. There's nothing like seeing families at commencement, first generation college kids to other kids who can say, my life will be better than it ever would have been if I hadn't had a chance to come to UMBC.
If you could go back 10 years and change anything in your career, your life, would you? And what would you change?
I wouldn't change a thing. The mistakes make us who we are. The failures give us a chance to learn even more. Being at UMBC now for 25 years and having been president now for 21, I can tell you that when you get a community of people together who believe in the same things and who are concerned about and interested in the life of the mind, and who believe in empowering young people to be their best. Inclusive excellence is the name of the game. We've got students here from 150 countries, and we're teaching people from all over the world how to come together, study together, compete, cooperate, collaborate, and amazingly, they are soaring. They're doing so well. And every time I see a student graduating, I think to myself, this is a miracle. That's the power of education.
Dr. Hrabowski, Time Magazine selected you as one of the world's 100 most powerful people. What does that honor mean to you?
It's been an amazing experience when people talk about that. It means you meet a lot of fascinating people. What it means to me is it's not about me. It's about what the university is doing. It's the fact that people are looking at how UMBC is educating people, the kinds of research we're doing, and it's the combination of inclusive excellence on the one hand and being seen as an institution that's building the economy. And when I look at other people in that group, the Prime Minister in Jamaica is a woman, an incredible woman who's working to make a difference in that country and setting an example for others in the Caribbean is just a great example. But what I would say is I think about other educators like Mary McLeod Bethune, one of the people that's just been made into wax there at the museum. She said that when she was building that institution there in Florida for colored girls, that a person came to be on her board and there she sat with a old broken down desk, and he said, "Where's the school you want me to be a trustee of?" And she stood and looked at him and she said, "In my mind, in my soul." That vision that she had. Well, it seems to me the people who have the greatest power really are those who have passion for the work. And I think the message from Time Magazine is UMBC is a place like Mary McLeod Bethune that has this vision, this for passion for education. That's what it is.
People without vision perish, and that's biblical. And of course, as we look towards your strengths as an individual,
Yes.
How much did the church play in you developing your philosophies and your vision?
Yeah, no, always in my life. The church experience was always very important, and is important. Growing up in Birmingham, having a chance to march in the Children's March with Dr. King, speaking and being a child leader in my church at 6th Avenue Baptist in Birmingham. Very special experience, very special to me, just as church here over the years, people have been wonderful in being supportive from Union Baptist and others. Most important though, it's that faith that does make a difference. And keep in mind, yet I'm on a campus with people from a range of religions and some who are not, and one has to be very careful.
Right.
I can have my own faith, but I have to respect the right of others to seek the truth as they will, and we do just that.
All right. And of course, that inner strength is what gives you the, I want to say, the mantle that you must carry forward.
I think so.
Your Birmingham experience, you look so young, but you have so much power and strength. How much of that civil rights campaign in Birmingham, Alabama, did you actually live and work through?
Oh yeah, I'm very blessed. I just turned 63, so I'm very thankful. Very thankful. And what I will tell you is I was 12 at the time in 1963, the same year that UMBC was founded. I was involved in the Children's March. I had the opportunity to march in that effort and to spend 5 miserable days in jail. And it was an empowering experience because it taught us that even children can make a difference in the struggles of humankind. And so it has helped to shape my life, sure.
Well, I'm impressed. Sir, you're a role model for what we all need to do. Start where we are, use what we have, and do what we can. Who are the role models? That I know Dr. King, and of course, the civil rights leaders of the 60s,
Sure.
70s.
Sure.
Who are the others?
Oh, many. My parents, hardworking, 5 jobs, and grandmothers, and many others. And since I've been in Baltimore, people who are now deceased, like Dr. Richard McKinney or Walter Sunheim, or my wonderful Bob Mauhoff, who has helped me so much, and this campus so much in building a program to produce minority scientists. So many, many role models. But I go back to Mary McLeod Bethune and the vision that she had.
All right. Well, one final word to students who happen to be watching this. What would you say to a student who has an opportunity to get an education?
The message I always give is that we have to keep thinking about the dream. And I always quote Langston Hughes, "Hold fast to dreams. For if dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams. But when dreams go, life is a barren field, frozen with snow." Dreams and values.
Advice is given to many, but only the wise profit from it. I want to thank you, Dr. Freeman Hrabowski.
Thank you very much.
For being a person who leads people towards their dreams.
Thank you.